my god. Okay, emotions. I am a mess. I'm like, okay. Ah!
The haters gonna hate. The haters gonna hate. I'm just gonna shake. Shake it off.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Julie the Bibliophile, and today I am here to talk about Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, the 8th installment of the Harry Potter series. Oh my god, words cannot describe how much I loved everything about this book. I read it in a day. I loved every second, every page, every word, every breath. I loved every single ounce and detail of this book. It was wacky, it was wild, but I loved it, and I did not expect anything that happened. For those of you who don't know, The Cursed Child is the 8th installment in the Harry Potter series, released at midnight on July 31st, which is both Harry Potter's birthday and J.K. Rowling's birthday. It was a story written by J.K. Rowling in conjunction with John Tiffany and Jack Thorne, and then Jack Thorne wrote a script, and it was made into a play in 2 parts in London. As the play officially opened out of previews, we got the book released in script form for all the world to enjoy. So, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child centers around the next generation of Hogwarts students, namely Albus Severus Potter and Scorpius Malfoy, as well as Harry Potter himself. If you have not read the book yet, I can't really tell you much about the plot because I did not know anything about the plot going into this book, and that just made it so much more wonderful. So, if you have not read Cursed Child yet and you do not have your copy, please leave right now and run to your local bookstore and get your copy because this book is just amazing and you will not regret it. Okay, so if you don't want to be spoiled, that's it for the non-spoily section. I will see you next time after you have read the book. Bye-bye! Okay, spoilers. How much can you love one book? I did not know I could ever love a book this much. It's getting so much hate, but I don't understand because I loved everything about Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. From the first page to the last word, I was hooked, I was in love, and I adored every second for what it was. We have this whole wacky, messed up time travel plot, which was so goofy but so fun at the same time, and its ridiculousness made it amazing and kept me on the edge of my seat. And at the same time, aside from this wacky time travel plot, we have an actual deep emotional story about Harry and his son. I want to speak briefly about characterization before I get on to plot points because I loved how all the original characters were presented in this book. We had Ginny Weasley, badass, just like she always was, Hermione, fiercely independent, Ron, a goofball, but still so in love with Hermione and so protective of Harry and Hermione and everyone he loves. And we have Draco, who is still a little twat. But, you know, we get to see more from Draco, and I actually really liked it. But at the beginning of the book, Draco was still very much himself. And then we have Mr. Harry Potter. And what I loved about Harry Potter, like, he may seem like he's not himself, but I loved that he was damaged. And we get to see that the war, the Battle of Hogwarts, the Wizarding War, left scars on Harry. Scars that are not just going to go away by marrying Ginny and having kids. They are going to last with him for his whole life. They are going to affect his relationship with his family because he doesn't know how to show someone he loves them. He is not only hurt by having everyone die for him and feeling guilty, he is hurt by never having a father because he doesn't really know how to understand Albus, and he has to deal with Albus being upset about living up to his legacy, and he doesn't know how to handle that, and he is rash and damaged and imperfect, and it was so realistic, and I loved it. I want you to see how many notes I have because I hardly ever take notes for a book. And look at this. It's just ridiculous. This is just everything I was thinking about Cursed Child, written out mostly in caps. because I was screaming the whole time. Act 1, Scene 1 opens, and we're at the epilogue of Book 7, right where we left off, and already I am emotional, because I am emotional from the first stage direction when we see Harry Potter holding Lily on his shoulders, and Lily running up to Ron screaming, Uncle Ron, Uncle Ron, he lifts her up in his arms, and they are a family. They are grown up, it is after the war, and they are a family, and I am just still so emotional about it. After this, we have Albus and Rose boarding the Hogwarts Express together, and Rose is telling Albus how they need to be careful about who they sit with because this is where their parents met all those years ago, and they might make their lifelong friends here. Albus, feeling pressured by this, chooses a cabin that happens to be filled with Scorpius Malfoy, and the two of them quickly become friends, though Rose is refusing to be friends with Scorpius because there are rumors that Scorpius is Voldemort's son. I immediately fell in love with Scorpius Malfoy, which is not what I was expecting at all from this book. I do not like Malfoy in the original series, so I was not expecting to love Scorpius as much as I did, but he was so adorable and so nerdy, and God bless the USA, Scorpius has a crush on Rose. It's made me so happy. Because let me tell you, since I was 12 years old, for no particular reason, I have shipped Scorpius and Rose and liked the idea of them not only being best friends, but being in love when they got older. And Scorpius has a crush on Rose. And it's adorable and hilarious for this entire book. Like, we have, you smell like fresh flowers and fresh bread. And oh my god. So after this, with each scene, time starts to progress. And we see that Albus is getting bullied at school because he is a Slytherin, and he is not living up to his father's legacy. And Scorpius is getting bullied at school because he's his father's son, and people think he's Voldemort's son. I gotta say, before I read this book, I did not want Albus to be in Slytherin. I thought I wouldn't like that, and I didn't expect him to actually be in Slytherin. But I actually ended up loving that. It expanded the rift between Albus and Harry, and it made the book just so much more complex. It made this already deep story that much more deep. You see Albus and Harry start to grow farther apart as the years go on, and a year passes in between each scene. Come the beginning of 3rd year, Albus is completely closed off from Harry and pretty much his whole family. His only friend in the world is Scorpius. The only person he'll really talk to is Scorpius. And then we find out that Astoria Greengrass, or Astoria Malfoy, Scorpius's mother, has died. And I was so sad. And I don't know why I was so sad, but I was immediately so sad. And that was when I realized that this book was not gonna be a fun epilogue, that this book was gonna be dark. And I did not expect this book to be this dark. And that's kind of the moment when it really hit that, wow, this is happening, okay. So after that, we immediately go to the summer before 4th year, and Albus is getting ready to leave for his 4th year at Hogwarts, and he doesn't want to go, and Harry makes an attempt to get closer to him, and gives him his baby blanket. There are so many things that are emotional about this baby blanket thing. I mean, first of all, we have the whole deal that, it's his baby blanket, and he stays with it every Hallows Eve, and because it's the only thing he has of his parents, and that's emotional as it is. Then we have the idea that after Petunia died, oh yeah, Petunia's dead, that's a thing, that's, emotional, and that Dudley gave him the blanket, so we have this whole idea of a better relationship between Dudley and Harry, and Dudley caring. Of course, the idea that Petunia actually kept this blanket all these years. We see this conversation between Harry and Albus, and this kind of sets up this central conflict of the novel. We see the rift between Harry and Albus, and it's all created in this conversation here because they have a fight about what Albus is going through at school, and he tells Harry he wishes he wasn't his father, and Harry responds with, "Sometimes I wish the same thing." He immediately wants to take it back, but he can't, and then this whole book is Harry feeling guilty for what he said to Albus, and trying to protect Albus, and understand Albus, and figure out how to show Albus that he loves him, and Ginny helping him along the way. So then, Amos Diggory shows up at Harry Potter's house because there was a time turner found at the Ministry, as it's rumored, and he wants Harry to go back in time to save Cedric Diggory, and this is when this wacky time travel plot starts. I'm like, oh my god, this is not what I expected, but I love it. Oh my god. And Harry tells him no, and we see Harry's guilt about people dying, that he cannot save Cedric. We are introduced to Delphine Diggory, who is talking to Albus. Albus eventually finds out that the Ministry does have a time turner, and him and Scorpius jump off the moving train, leaving Hogwarts, being chased by the robot Metatron trolley lady, which is so goofy. I love it. So they go to get Delphine, and they decide they're going to steal the time turner and go back in time and save Cedric Diggory. Now, immediately I figured out what was going to happen. I'm like, okay, Albus and Scorpius are going to steal the time turner, they're going to go back in time, they're going to save Cedric, and in doing that, they're going to screw up the future. But I did not know they were going to screw up the future in the way that they did. Like, I had a basic idea of what would happen, but I did not know things were going to unravel the way they were going to unravel. Albus, Scorpius, and Delphine use Polyjuice Potion to disguise themselves as Harry, Ron, and Hermione and go into Hermione's office in the Ministry of Magic, because Hermione is the Minister for Magic. Words cannot describe how happy that makes me. I was like, oh my god, Hermione is the Minister. But so they go and they're trying to find the time turner, and lo and behold, Harry and Hermione are coming. Like, did you not expect that? Did you not expect that? And they both work in the Ministry. They're best friends. Come on, y'all are so stupid. Delphine and Scorpius, who are disguised as Hermione and Harry, have to go hide in the office, while Albus has to stay behind disguised as Ron and try to keep Hermione out of the office. And it just gets so weird and so hysterical and so skeevy, because he has to tell her, like, let's have another baby or go on vacation. And then he has to kiss her. And I'm like, ah. But they get Hermione and Harry away, and they find this library weaponized with riddles until they find the time turner, and they use it to go back in time and stop Cedric Diggory from winning the first task. Along the way, Scorpius and Albus bump into Hermione. What they don't know is that by bumping into Hermione, they've ripped the entire space-time continuum apart. Get back to present day. Now, I thought that, you know, if they screwed something up in time, it would be like if Cedric didn't die, then Fleur would die, and, you know, they wouldn't have an Aunt Fleur or Cousin Teddy anymore. No, everything seemed fine until they realized that Ron and Hermione were not married, and Cedric was still dead. This was all for naught. But seeing Cedric humiliated in the first task, Hermione thought it was the result of those two Durmstrang boys that she bumped into, and that they were instructed by Krum. So Hermione didn't go to the ball with Krum and went with Ron. Ron never got the chance to be jealous of Krum, and that jealousy was all important in him falling for Hermione, which, hello, oh my god, finding out when Ron fell in love with Hermione. Woo! Okay, emotions. Albus is in Gryffindor house, and Harry is just nuts. Harry is more out of character and trying to protect Albus. He stops Albus from hanging out with his only friend because he's trying to protect him. Everything is wrong. Rather than go back in time and to where they first went and stop themselves from causing this thing, because Ron is married to Padma and Hermione is a mean Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. No, they decide, let's still try to save Cedric, because, you know, that worked so well the first time. They're so stupid, and I love it. They go to the second task and humiliate Cedric in the second task, and at the same time shoot up fireworks that say Ron loves Hermione to try and fix that. Then they get back, and Scorpius comes out of the water, and he's like, yeah, everything's fine! Everything is not fine. Let me tell you something, because this is where part 1 of the show ends, and we find that now they are in a world controlled by Voldemort. Wow. Well, I was a mess. I was freaking out. I'm like, what happened? Umbridge is the professor, the headmistress of Hogwarts. Snape is still alive. Harry is dead. When they humiliated Cedric in the second task, he became a Death Eater and killed Neville in the Battle of Hogwarts. And because Neville could not kill Nagini, Voldemort could not be destroyed, and Harry died. And Voldemort still rules the world, and we kind of get this ongoing allegory for Voldemort's world and the Holocaust really expanded when we see Voldemort's world after the Battle of Hogwarts, because we see that, you know, mudbloods are being burned alive and put in work camps, and I was like, wow, it is horrific. Albus does not exist. Scorpius is there, all alone. One of my favorite parts of this had to be when Scorpius went to go talk to Draco, and we get to find out the love story between Draco and Astoria, because now I was really, really sad that Astoria was dead, because we find out that Astoria was kind of like a muggle lover, what considered to be a blood traitor, and Draco fell in love with her, and Lucius did not approve of the match. Growing so much for Draco, Draco defied his father to marry Astoria, and he said she made being braver easier every day. Oh, it's so sad. Then Scorpius meets up with Snape, and Snape takes him underneath the Whomping Willow, where they have the remaining ranks of Dumbledore's army. And this has to be one of my favorite parts of the book, because Ron and Hermione are both there, and they're not together, but Scorpius tells them that he's from the future, and they're in a world that should not be. And in the world that should be, they are married with children. And this brings it to one of my favorite elements of the play, which was Ron and Hermione. They were so beautiful throughout the entire thing, and we got to see that in every altered timeline, even when they weren't actually married, they were still in love with each other. Ron and Hermione, on every timeline, no matter what happened, loved each other. They decide that they have to get to the lake and go do a blocking charms on the original things that Albus and Scorpius did, and then time will be back to normal. On the way there, the Dementors come after them, and Hermione knows she's after them, and she says, "I'll stay behind and be kissed by the Dementors." She tells Ron that she loves him and she always has. Ron immediately freaks out. Ron stays with her, tells her that he loves her, and they start smiling about how nice it would be to have kids together, how that sounded nice, and then they kiss and get yanked apart by the Dementors and killed, and I am a mess, even though I know it's not real. I'm an absolute mess. And Snape, I hate Snape so much, but Snape made me all emotional when he's like, "Tell Albus Severus that I am proud he bears my name." I was just, this entire section of the novel, this entire novel just left me a mess, but this section in particular, dude, it was too much. But they go and do the blocking charms, and now everything's back to normal. I knew something was up here because, you know, at this point, this was one of those moments where, hey, everything's good again. But, there's still 100 pages left, and I am begging every force in the universe, please just let it be about Harry and Albus fixing their relationship now. But of course, you know, it wouldn't be exciting if it wasn't that. So Albus and Scorpius sneak out to try and destroy the Time Turner, but along the way they encounter Delphine, and here comes the big surprise of the novel, what I was not expecting, that Delphine is working to go back in time and make Voldemort succeed. Delphine was against them the whole time. She's not really Amos Diggory's niece. She was using Confundus charms. She captures Albus and Scorpius and flies off. Harry and Ginny figure this out. Harry is feeling so guilty after almost having a healing conversation with Albus where they both discuss how they're not okay. So emotional. So many things to be emotional about. Harry and Ginny have a fight because Ginny thinks she drove him away again. Not sure how many times she can forgive him. I was just crying through the entirety of Act 4. I'm just losing it. But then comes a little comic relief, a little happiness relief with my favorite scene of the novel, Ron and Hermione in Hermione's office. We see, like, Ron's eating porridge, and he's like, "I can't comprehend the idea that we weren't married. Like, we've been married for so long, and I can't even imagine not being married to you." And that would have been enough. And Hermione's like, "Are you trying to get a divorce?" And Ron is like, "No, I want to renew our vows." And I'm like, okay. I am, like, Hermione is my favorite couple ever, and I was so mad at J.K. Rowling when she said they weren't actually going to be a thing, but she made up for it tenfold here. And then the best part of this has to be that we find out that the first time Ron and Hermione got married, they were still really young, and they got drunk and eloped. They got drunk and got married on an impulse, and now Ron wants to have a real wedding. And they kiss, and it's probably going to go farther than that. They're about to kiss again, but then Harry and Ginny and Draco come bursting in and say everything's gone awry. You get to see Draco join the team, and first, you know, he's fighting, like, with Hermione and Harry, and Ron is being really protective of them still, but Draco gets to join the group, and I ended up loving Draco, and we got so much character development for Draco in trying to save Scorpius. Harry has a conversation with Dumbledore where he says that Dumbledore was a bad father, and I really didn't know whether to be crying happy that Harry was calling Dumbledore his father, or crying sad that he called him a bad father. Either way, the two of them started crying. Dumbledore started crying from the portrait, and the two of them said that they loved each other. Oh, it was like the most emotional scene of the book, probably. This closure between Harry and Dumbledore. And then they find out that Delphine is Voldemort's daughter, and she is trying to stop Voldemort from killing Harry so that he is not defeated and can rise to success from the beginning. So our whole group gets a time turner that Draco had the whole time because Lucius had it the whole time. They are able to go back in time to the day James and Lily died, where Delphine took Albus and Scorpius, because Albus communicates to Harry using the baby blanket and burning holes in it. Amazing. So clever. Once there, they come up with a plan to transfigure Harry into Voldemort, and Ginny is begging him not to do it. Nobody wants him to do it because, like, they don't know if he can come back, and Ginny is so upset. I'm emotional because Ginny and Harry. Are we gonna talk about that scene where Ginny talked to Harry about how he loves Simply and specifically, and how he first showed her love when, after she came out of the Chamber of Secrets, everyone was ignoring her, and he just went and played a game of exploding Snap with her and treated her normally, and he showed, and oh my god, like, when she, So Delphine tells Harry as Voldemort that she is the daughter of him and Bellatrix Lestrange, which, you know, I always knew there was something going on there, but Harry is disguised as Voldemort. It's working, and they're going to defeat Delphine, but Harry starts to transform back into himself. Delphine figures it out, locks the door, starts fighting Harry, and then Albus slips in and starts fighting her, and here comes the most emotional line of the entire play, in my opinion. I've never fought alone, you see, and I never will. This just summarizes the entire series with so much emotion. I'm crying so much. Then everybody comes in, they defeat Delphine, they go back to the present, and finally, once again, all is well. We go back to Hogwarts, presumably year 5. Scorpius has asked Rose out. She has told him no, but it's still so adorable, and he is so proud of himself. And we see Albus and Scorpius get to be happy. What I love about this whole Scorpius and Rose thing is that we find that in the original series, we find out that James and Lily, you know, James was always asking Lily out from year 5, and she said no, and then eventually they still fell in love. So I see, in my head, good things do happen for Scorpius and Rose, you know? And then the final scene of the book, we have Harry and Albus walking on a hill, and Harry takes him to Cedric's grave. And they kind of just sit there together and talk about how their lives are similar, and we definitely know that they are going to heal, and that's it. I was so emotional, you guys. This book was so beautiful. Too much emotion for me. I don't even know how to process it because every aspect of it was so beautiful. I'm still crying so much about Ron and Hermione and the drunk wedding and the vow renewal now. Oh! My only quips would be, I would have loved to hear a little bit more about the other kids, like James and Lily, and Hugo wasn't even mentioned. We don't even know what house Hugo got sorted into. So where's Hugo? And honestly, I would not have put Scorpius Malfoy into Slytherin. The way he was acting, like in this second world, he was popular, and he could finally have the life he wanted, but it was all wrong, and it was ruled by Voldemort, so he gave that up to go back and fix things, and that's not a Slytherin move. Slytherins are like, you know, self-preservation. I think I would have put Scorpius in Ravenclaw or Gryffindor, honestly, but that's just me. Anyway, please let me know your favorite parts of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child in the comments below. I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye!